The End and the Beginning. Characters: Maya and Noor. Location: deserted plateau overlooking a city in ruins. You know, when everything started falling apart, I remember looking up the meaning of apocalypse, Maya said, brushing a strand of her curly hair back. It's actually defined as an event involving destruction on a catastrophic scale. Noor didn't look at her, eyes fixed on the smoky orange sky above the ruins of their city. Okay, so. I'm just saying, everyone keeps saying the world has ended, but it hasn't really. Not entirely, at least. Just the world as we knew it. Maya tugged at the sleeves of her worn-out jacket, gaze shifting to the horizon. Noor finally turned her head, resting her chin on her palm, contemplating Maya's words. Isn't that kind of the same thing, though? No, not exactly, Maya replied, shaking her head thoughtfully. If everything had ended, there would be nothing left at all. But we're still here. It's like Earth is just resetting, maybe to make way for something new. Noor smirked, lying back to stare at the sky. Sounds like you're expecting some grand rebirth or something. Maya chuckled, glancing sideways at her friend. I don't know, maybe. Or maybe it's just wishful thinking. They sat in silence for a moment, each lost in their thoughts as the smoke above them slowly dispersed, revealing hints of a faded blue sky. Noor hummed a tune softly, and Maya recognized it, a song about endings and beginnings. It felt oddly appropriate. So, Maya said after a moment, if this is a reset, maybe we should, I don't know, document it. Like, write a story for whoever comes after us. Noor raised an eyebrow. You mean, like, make our own little guide for future people? Yeah. Like our version of a new beginning. Maybe a sort of myth for the next ones to come, Maya said, her voice brightening as the idea took shape in her mind. She pulled a battered notebook from her bag, flipping to an empty page. Where should we start? Noor grinned, eyes twinkling with mischief. How about with in the end, the world broke apart, but life lingered on. Maya's pen scratched across the page, capturing the words. Together, they began to craft a story of survival and hope, of love and resilience amidst ruin. They wrote of two souls left behind, standing on the edge of destruction but choosing to create rather than despair. After a while, Noor leaned over, glancing at the notebook, and added her own line, and as the ashes settled, new life began to bloom from the wreckage, defiant and wild. They laughed, feeling an odd sense of peace as the cities remained stretched below them. For a moment, it was easy to imagine a future where their story would be found, where someone else would read about their hopes for a world reborn. And in that quiet moment, with the last rays of daylight illuminating the smoke and rubble, Maya and Noor held onto the idea that maybe, just maybe, they were part of a beginning instead of an end. The two of them sat together on the plateau as dusk settled in, painting the sky in deep purples and fading orange. The ruined city below seemed to quiet in response, as if respecting the weight of the moment. Maya tapped her pen against the notebook, considering her next words carefully. What should we call them, the new people? She asked. The ones who'll come after us. Noor shrugged, brushing a hand through her tangled hair. How about something simple? Just the Wanderers. Maya smiled, scribbling it down. The Wanderers. I like it. People who find their way through the wreckage, learning from what was left behind. She looked up to find Noor staring out over the broken landscape, her gaze distant, almost wistful. Do you think there's anyone else out there? Noor asked, her voice soft. I mean, beyond what we can see. Maybe others like us, writing their own stories. Maybe, Maya replied, her tone matching Noor's. Or maybe it's just us, the last ones to remember what it was like before everything fell apart. But I think that's okay. Even if it's just us, we can still make it mean something. Noor smiled, but there was a sadness behind it. She pulled her jacket tighter around herself as the wind picked up, carrying the faint scent of smoke and earth. What would you do, Meyer, if you could leave this place? Start over somewhere fresh. Meyer thought about it, absently tracing the edge of the notebook with her thumb. I'd find a place by the water. Somewhere green and full of life. I'd plant a garden, grow food, maybe even make a little house. Something small, but ours. Just peaceful, you know. Sounds nice, Noor said, closing her eyes as if picturing it. You think there's anywhere left like that? A place that hasn't been touched by all of this? Maybe, Meyer replied, her tone soft. But if not, maybe we can create it. A little corner of peace, even in all this mess. The sky grew darker, stars beginning to peek out above them. The air was cooler now, with a chill that hinted at a long night ahead. Noor shivered, and Meyer offered her jacket. She draped it over Noor's shoulders without waiting for a response, smiling as Noor wrapped herself in its warmth. We should keep writing, Noor said after a moment, pulling the notebook onto her lap. If we're going to tell our story, we might as well make it something worth remembering. They took turns adding to the myth they were crafting, building a world from the ashes of their own. They wrote of rebirth, of a land healing itself, and of two souls who wandered together, finding beauty in places long abandoned. Finally, as the last light disappeared and only the stars illuminated their plateau, Meyer capped the pen and closed the notebook. What now? Noor asked, her voice barely a whisper. Now? Meyer echoed, looking out over the city's remains. Now, we wait for morning. And maybe tomorrow, we'll find a way down. We'll start looking for that place by the water. They settled in for the night, huddling close as the world around them remained silent and still. And as they drifted into sleep, each held onto their hope that somewhere beyond the darkness, a new world waited for them. A world they could build, piece by piece, with the memories they'd carry and the dreams they'd left behind in the pages of a battered notebook.